Okay, so moving on to addition strategies, I do get questions about this as well. Like, do you really have to teach them strategies? They've been adding since they were in kindergarten. And my answer to this is always yes. I always start with smaller numbers, but as we get to bigger numbers, and I have in my teacher pay teacher store that you can choose which anchor chart you want to do. Basically, I just add a number to the hundreds place, but they're the same basic strategies that we talk about and we use when we are solving either word problems or naked number problems. And yes, I do call them naked numbers because then they don't forget or they pay more attention when you're using awkward terms like naked numbers. We talk through as we make this chart together, does it matter on my number line whether I start with the 85 or whether I start with the 38? So it really doesn't matter because you should get the same SUM sum in the end. However, I tell them when I'm adding, I like to start with a bigger number because then I don't have as far to go. Then we have to talk about, okay, but do you want that number over here? Or do we want that number over here? If we're adding, we're getting bigger, so we jump this way. So I'm going to put my 85 right here. Then coming down to my chart, I look at my next number and I always ask them, okay, so am I just going to make a jump right here and do a +3 and put my 88? Hopefully someone speaks up. Again, you're just constantly asking these questions, making them communicate what they know about these numbers. Hopefully then I always ask them, okay, what number is going to stay the same? Is it the ones place or the tens place? That'll stay the same. And hopefully they'll tell you it's the ones place. And so then we talk about how, well, you're just really adding 80 plus 30 or 8 plus 3, and you just got to keep it in the correct place value then at that point. Then, because I already used my 3, then I'm going to do a jump and I do ask, okay, so is the 8 just an 8? And hopefully somebody will tell you that yes, the value is just an 8 because it is in the ones place. And then we talk about, okay, which number will stay the same? The 1 in the hundreds place will not change. So really what you've done is made it into a second or third grade problem, really, where you're just doing a 15 plus an 8 would equal that 23. So number line is the first strategy that we always practice. The next one is called place value. Don't call it break apart because that's the one we're going to do down here. And you are going to see there are differences. Now, because these numbers are pretty small for fourth graders, these are more third grade problems. And yes, I do understand that. Again, in my teacher pay teacher store, I have the chart if you want to use larger numbers. If you feel like your students are ready for that, please go ahead and do that. So with place value, we actually break both numbers. With break apart, you only break one number. So that's why I have to give this a different name. So then I start out by asking them, oh, I'm going to do an 8 plus a 3 first. Hopefully someone will speak up and say, but the value of that is 80 and the value of this one is 30. So you're going to start with 80 plus 30. So we talk about what numbers will stay the same. There will be a 0 in the ones place. So that really brings it to the problem 8 plus a 3. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So I'm going to put my 11 in the hundreds and tens. Then I will just go ahead and ask them, so what about the 5 plus the 8? Then can I just keep them as a 5 plus an 8? Hopefully they can tell you because they are in the ones place that yes, you just keep them 5 plus an 8, which you would add together. So then you would end up adding them together to get your answer sum of 123. So down here is where you are going to do break apart. Now with addition, because my students by this point in the year are fairly familiar, we don't touch on addition until usually late December, early January. So because my students are so familiar, because we've practiced them with other 10-minute math activities such as broken calculator, and I've introduced some of them just really informally, then I do introduce usually the first day together. We make the first 3 strategies. So again, with break apart, the rule is always you break one number, the other number stays the same. So again, I'm going to start with a bigger number because when I add, then I don't have as far to go. So I'm going to start with the 3, and I call it a 3 on purpose because then hopefully a student will correct me and say, but that's not a 3, that's a 30. And then I have my 115 again. Usually it's at this point that somebody points out that's what we got up here. So we talk about how these are very similar strategies that you just broke it apart up here so that it doesn't matter which way your brain thinks of it the best, but you have to understand which strategy works best for you. Then I ask them, okay, if I'm going to do plus the 8, is it just an 8? Yes, it's in the ones place. And then hopefully they realize that's how you get to your answer sum of 123. So we will practice these for usually a good week to 10 days before I ever introduce the American algorithm. And this is because somewhere along the way, whether it was a well-meaning parent, a well-meaning second or third grade teacher, somebody has shown them how to stack numbers. And they think they know how to do it, but once they start asking questions, it very quickly proves that they really don't understand what they're doing. They're just repeating a process. And again, that doesn't help them understand, is your answer reasonable? And it doesn't help them form that strong foundation and place value. So the day that I do allow them to stack numbers is a great day in our classroom. They are usually chomping at the bit to be able to do this. So we talk about, okay, how do you know where to start? Because a lot of my students will still want to start over here. And there are strategies to do it that way, where if they understood 80 plus 30 is 110 and they want to put their 110 down here and 5 plus 8 is 13 and show me that's how they got it, that's fine. But 9 times out of 10, that's not how they want to do it. So we talk about how just with every algorithm, you start in the ones place with your 8 plus your 5. Then they want to tell me that's 13, so I act like, oh, so I just put 13 down here. Usually somebody interrupts and will tell me to put the 3 down and carry the 1. And when I ask, what does it mean that you carry the 1? Why did you put the 1 up there? That's where my room goes absolutely silent and the wheels have fallen off. And this is where I show them, this is why we have not used the American algorithm. Because it is not a mental math strategy. You are not sure why you put that 1 up here other than somebody told you that's what you do. That 1's value cannot be a 1 because it is in the tens place. So you're really adding 10 plus 80 plus 30 to get 120. And with the 3 in the ones place, that's where you get your answer 123. Now, I also don't circle the tens place because otherwise they don't know where did I start my algorithm. So for your students who don't like to show their work, this can sometimes be a challenge, especially with addition strategies. However, to really understand, do they have a strong foundation and place value? To move up to this, in my own classroom, I do make the rule that they can't use this, usually for every single problem that we practice together. On an assignment, I usually do allow them, unless the directions specifically say to use more than one strategy. Usually it's a pretty short assignment at that point that we want them to be able to do more than one way to prove how you know this is the same as this or this or this. So most of the time they will humor me. However, it becomes very obvious very quickly who actually has that strong foundation in place value concept.